Panasonic just announced 4 new 4K 60 camcorder models, and one of them I think is the most tempting because it's sub $2,000. As a matter of fact, it's $1,699 US and has professional features. Now these new camcorders sit in kind of a strange space. Most professional or semi-professional camcorders have 1-inch or larger sensors, but these have the smaller cell phone size sensors. But that allows the camcorders to be smaller, lighter, have longer zooms, better image stabilizations, more compact, and cheaper. So if Panasonic can keep the video quality high despite the small sensor, we'll have a real winner. And that's what this video is going to help us determine. A lot of video examples in good light and in bad light. Now remember, the video quality will be the same as the model before it, the 1500, because it has the exact same sensor, exact same lens, exact same aperture. And the zoom range is the same as this little Panasonic point and shoot, which also has a small sensor. We'll compare the two, but you have to stick around for that. So all the new camcorder models have a lot in common. They all can do 4K 60 recording. They all have 5-axis image stabilization. None of them have a recording limit. They all have face detect autofocus and USB-C charging. I was just learning the menu of these new cameras and I didn't have the image stabilizer turned on, so it's a little shaky here, but you'll see other footage where the image stabilization is on. Now as you look at this giant piece of luggage in the middle of the street in Manhattan, this was shot with video straight out of camera, no adjustments were made. Now the 1500, because of this new model, is going to be on sale. So if you want to save a few dollars, you may want to act quickly. The 1600 is going to be $200 more than the retail price of the 1500. So what features did they add to the 1600? Well, they increased the resolution of the viewfinder to 1.77 million dots. The model before it, the 1500, actually had about a 1.5 million dot EVF, so not a real big difference. As a matter of fact, most of the upgrades are rather evolutionary, nothing revolutionary here. One of the upgrades was interesting. It's actually an even slower zoom speed. So if you're zooming in or zooming out and you want to get a real cinematic look, you can use a very slow zoom. They added a low-bit recording format, a shooting guide display, enhanced networking, and better integration with the app. So let's for a second talk about some of the geeky specs of the HC-1600. It's got that small 1/2.5-inch cell phone size sensor, a Leica 25mm 600mm lens, and it comes with both an intelligent zoom and a digital zoom. Shoots an MP4, MOV, AVC HD with dual card slots, and the headline feature is that it can shoot in 10-bit. And you can get up to 4:2 to 2 10-bit, up to a maximum of 4K 30. You can shoot in 24, 25, 30, 50, or 60 frames per second in 4K and 1080p. The lens goes from 1.8 to 4, and that's pretty good considering the lens goes all the way out to 600 millimeters. You have a 3-position ND filter, 1/4, 1/16, and 1/64. You have to manually select each one of those. And at 3.5 inches, the screen is bigger than most cameras, and you see it. It's nice and big, clear, and sharp. And if you're interested in streaming, well, you can do that in a variety of formats listed on the screen there. So you have a lot of options with this camera. And there's also a LANC input for zoom controllers. Now let's talk about some features you may not know about. I shot this bird in what they call super slow-mo, which is 120 frames per second. I didn't edit this. This is how the footage comes back, already in slow motion, and there is no audio. The camera offers full manual controls with hard buttons right on the camera, or you can shoot in auto. The camera has a timestamp feature, so if you're doing depositions or private eye work or whatever else where you want timestamp burned in, you could do that. There's also a cool pre-record function. Let me show you how that works. What I'm going to say is I'm going to do pre-record, and how it's going to work is I'm going to turn it, I'm going to click the button when I say the number 5. All right, so this is a test for pre-record. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's pretty cool if you're doing birding, or it gives you at least a full 5 seconds of pre-record. There's no shortage of customizable controls on the menu, on the camera. You can even program one of the rings to be either zoom or iris. Now there is an IR filter, and here is an extremely low light scene with no filter on. You have two options, white and green. But just realize that there is no IR light, so you cannot use this in pitch black surroundings. So if you're a ghost hunter, you need an IR light too. There are so many video codecs you can shoot in, your head will spin. Yet the camera maintains a really small footprint, and it's light at well under 2 pounds. Yet it has a dual SD card slot, which is a very nice touch with a nice little door, and the battery goes for 6 hours with even a cool little check button on the battery. What you don't find very often are tiltable viewfinders or simultaneous output of the viewfinder to the screen. I really like that. I really like that too. An accessory worth noting is this handle, which is detachable, and it gives you a built-in video light and also XLR inputs. And it's very easy just to add that. There's a connector right on the camera. If you're really interested in this, you may want to consider the 2100, which is one of the models they introduced. And that model also has some additional professional connections. Now, conversely, if you want to save a few dollars, the model X1200 is cheaper, but you pay for it in losing a viewfinder. No electronic viewfinder on this model. You'd have to fully rely on the screen. And those of us that like camcorders, we really like our viewfinders. But that camera will be a little smaller, will be a little lighter, but it also dispenses with Wi-Fi. There is no 422 10-bit, and so you won't be able to stream either. So if you can live with all that and you want to save a few dollars, the X1200 is a stripped-down version. And on the other side of the coin, the CX20, the fourth model they're introducing, will give you 3G SDI, simultaneous output with HDMI, NDI, XH2 compliant IP connectivity. Woo!
You are such a nerd.
So here is nice, sharp 1080p footage, and here's the same footage in 4K 60. Both look very nice and sharp and controlled. And of course, you get that wonderful 4K 60 frames per second for smooth panning. If you're going to do anything with a lot of motion, sports, traffic in the street, for example, you get that nice smooth motion. Now, I also wanted to check low light. Went into a dark area of Trump Tower in New York City, saw very little grain. Also went into St. Patrick's Cathedral. For those of you that are going to do semi-professional, professional work, stabilizer is off here. Now it's on at full zoom. You can see it really looks nice and floaty, just a little bit of motion. And I'm using the onboard mic on the camera, and you can hear it picks up really nice ambient sound. The sound is nice and clear. And in the hollowed walls of St. Patrick's Cathedral, this is fairly low lit, and it has a professional look to it despite the small sensor. The camera has a really nice close focusing distance too, so you can see how versatile it is from near to far. The camera really does a very nice job. With its manual controls, you can control the gain, or effectively the grain, in 1 dB increments. Here is what the camera wants to do in auto on the nighttime skyline.
This is 18 dB of gain, 19 dB of gain, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30.
And here is that little FC300 point-and-shoot digital camera compared to our newer camcorder, and you can see it looks a lot cleaner with the newer model. Now, outdoors, you're going to see less of a difference. Here is the point-and-shoot $300 FC300, and here is the Panasonic new camcorder, and it's a lot closer. Of course, it's 4K 60, but just wanted to give you an idea. Now, looking at the autofocus of the new camcorder models, actually, I was kind of impressed considering it's not the most modern autofocus system, really not updated for 5 years. But watch how it confidently switches focus from one subject to the next. Here we are up close on this pigeon, and as we go to the distance of these skaters, it quickly goes to the skaters and stays locked on them. It's not drifting. In many of my other reviews on Panasonic cameras, I've noticed some focus hunting issues. And I'm seeing less of it here, which I'm actually very glad of.
staying in focus as we zoom out from this bird on the statue's head. For some reason, the birds in New York seem to gravitate towards the head of statues. Here, we had a focus problem. I think it was just a very busy background that confused the focus. In order to get it to focus, I moved to the head, and then it locked on to the pigeon. It was in the same focal plane. Now, interestingly, when I center the flag in the frame, it's going to focus on the flag, but it has trouble getting back to the pigeon. So again, it's a busy background, and that's what's causing the problem. So it won't be perfect.
So while these new camcorders aren't groundbreaking, there's nothing really brand new about them. They're more new models.
As opposed to new camcorders.
I think Panasonic still has to be commended for it because they came out with these 4 new models, which appeals to various groups. If you're really on a budget and can live without the viewfinder, you can look at the 1200 for around $1,300. But if you want more professional features with the XLR inputs, you can go with the XC-2100, or you can start with the 1600, which may be fine, and then you can always step up and buy the handle later. And the top of the line model will give you all the latest connectors, protocols. So they're covering a lot of ground here with these 4 different models. And Panasonic so far seems to be the only company that's really coming out with new camcorders. Sony recently came out with a couple of new models, but they are very big and very expensive. These camcorders can appeal to those that are semi-professional, professionals, or some of us who just want a small portable camcorder that shoots in 4K 60 that's reasonably priced. It's funny, when I got word of this camcorder coming out, I was actually working on a video about the JVC Back to the Future camcorder, which was the very first camcorder that was introduced in 1984. So that was the first camcorder. I hope this is not going to be the last camcorder or one of the last camcorders that are introduced. Let me know your comments if you think camcorders might be making a comeback. Let's hope the curve is swinging the other way and we'll start seeing some new models as time goes on. Thanks so much for watching Tech to Remember, where old technology meets new technology. See you in the next video.
Let's just be glad we had some time.